Hello makers, and welcome to Share Stitchery. I'm Catherine Harris, and today I wanted to do something a little different. I just got a new iron. It's been a long time coming, and I thought I would do an unboxing and a quick review on the iron. It is the Rowenta Steam Station. So let's get to it. And, hold on, I can put this on the ground. Okay, so there's a couple other cords and pieces to it in the box, but it has a nice big water reservoir right here that is perfect for holding a ton of water. And why don't we get this set up? Okay, so to start, you will need to put the plug in the bottom of the base, which I've already done here. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to fill it up with some distilled water. So you don't want to use tap water because it does have a lot of calcium built up in there. And the water reservoir is filled up right here. So we are just going to do that. Oops, I filled it higher than the maximum. Don't do that. Okay, and then they've got a safety lock on the top here. Just make sure you click that in. And I'm going to put my water reservoir right here. And then I'm going to heat this puppy up. Okay, now that the iron has heated up, I've got a variety of different fabrics to test it on. So I thought the first we would test it on is some very wrinkly synthetic polyester lining fabric, also known as like China silk. And this stuff needs a lower temperature because it will melt if you put a hot iron on. And for the case of this, I'm not going to use a press cloth, but I do use a press cloth with the vast majority of my pressing. So let's take a look and see. So it does have a button on the bottom that when you press it, it does a phenomenal job of pressing out the wrinkles in this. And currently I have it set on the low setting for synthetic and silk, but it actually goes much lower than that on the dial. And up next, I thought we would do this Slinky Fabric here. It is very synthetic. It's liquid metal. So I've kept it on the same low setting, and it is also incredibly, and it has 400 bars of pressure on that steam, and it is doing a phenomenal job on that. Up next, I have some chiffon. Let's see how that's working. And it does a very good job on that one as well. And next I have a piece of a bridal gown that I cut off. And I'm just going to press that Duchess satin. Now traditionally it would use a little bit higher heat, but with this steam, it seems to be doing a phenomenal job. For the next fabrics, I have moved the dial up just slightly in between the silk and the wool setting. So first we have some polyester suiting fabric that is nicely crinkled here, and we're going to try that. So just pressing it does an okay job, but when I use the steam setting, it does a phenomenal job here. Next, I have also some lightweight polyester dress fabric, and it has a little bit of spandex in it, which makes it a little bit stretchy. So let's see how this fabric holds up. And yes, I do need to iron this one. This one belongs on a bolt. it is doing quite well with the pressing on this one. Next up, I have some wool left over from a wool jacket that I made. It's not too creased because I did have it sitting on a bolt, but there are some creases in here from where it was folded. So let's see how that presses. And to let you know that this wool was pre-washed. I do like to pre-shrink my wools when I do it. I know that that's a big topic of conversation and controversy because not a lot of people do that. Some people just steam it. Some people put it in the wash and hang it to dry. I actually put this on a hot wash and a tumble dry because I wanted to make sure that whatever happened to my jacket, that I'd be able to wash it. And it came out looking quite similar to the original wool. And with the steam setting, it takes out those creases like a dream. And the last range of fabrics that I have to show you are going to be the high heat fabrics. So I've turned it up to the cotton linen setting here. And I thought we would start out with a linen canvas blend and see how that works. And I do notice that when I do hit the button for the steam on this one, it actually gives 2 pumps of the steam, whereas on the other settings, it had only given 1 pump of the steam. And it looks like it's doing a decent job of getting out any of those creases on the canvas. Next up is linen, and I had this super cute linen napkin, and it is in desperate need of a steam press. So let's get that out because we all know that linen is notorious for being crinkly. It's just so satisfying getting those wrinkles out of linen. I love it. And the more you wash it, the softer it gets. I just can't say enough good things about linen. And it's doing a decent amount here, but I do think it might need a little bit more love and care to get out some of these wrinkles. And in my defense, this napkin was sitting away in my fabric stash, tucked in behind a bunch of other fabric. So it has probably seen years crinkled away like this. And lastly is a silk, 100% silk organza. And so I actually use silk organza as my pressing cloths because number 1, you can see through it. Number 2, it takes high heat. Now this was used as an underlining in a Christmas dress I had made, and it needs a bit of a press. And this is doing a fantastic job just getting out the wrinkles without having to use any of the steam. And when I do use the steam, it does an immaculate job. So let's talk about some of the features to the iron here. So first thing is the water tank. Most irons have the water tank built into the actual iron. This one here actually has a separate reservoir for it, similar to some of the other irons that tailors use with the gravity feed. It has 1.2 liter capacity, which will give you 90 minutes of continuous steam per tank, which I think is absolutely fabulous because I'm always refilling my tank on my existing iron here. Next up, the steel plate here. You can notice that the perforations and the holes for the steam is actually a lot larger than some of the other irons on the market. This one actually has 400 holes, similar to some other sewing irons as well. And just to give you a comparison on that, this is what a traditional iron that you would get at any box store looks like. So you can see that there is significantly more holes for that steam to come in. And the fact that it is stainless steel is also really nice for the plate, and it's got a nice narrow tip, which is good for some precise pressing, especially when you're opening up seams. Next, we can look at the steam button here. So there's one at the top as well as one underneath here that you can press. So when pressing the steam button, it gives you 4 bars of steam pressure. And when you push this top button, it gives sort of 3 bursts of steam and 120 grams of steam or water vapor that will come through into your fabric, which is significantly more than a lot of other irons on the market. Some of the features that it does have on the back here are an eco mode, And so, you know, we can turn that on. And if you do hit that eco mode, I would not suggest it. So originally I had it on an eco mode and I found that it was turning off more frequently than I had liked. So I turned my iron on, I do a couple stitches of sewing and I go to press my seams and I would have to wait for the iron to heat up for the steam. So it was still hot enough to press it without steam, but it wasn't giving me any steam. And that was because I had eco mode turned on. So if you're having those difficulties with this iron, perhaps considering turning off that eco mode. Next, it's a 2-minute warm-up time. So even if you forgot to turn your iron on, you know, 2 minutes isn't all that long for it to heat up for you. It does shut off after about 6 minutes. So you're going to want to go over and wiggle your iron or just hit this button right here and it'll restart it so that it keeps your iron nice and hot. One thing that I wish it would do is stay hotter for longer. So that 8 minutes isn't a lot of time, especially if you're sewing. That I like to have my iron nice and ready and heat up a little quicker. If it had a 60-second heat up time, I think that that would make it even better. And another thing to note is it actually has a cleaning mode on it to help you descale it. So even if you are using distilled water, you should go ahead and clean your iron, you know, once every 3 to 4 months or so if you're using it on a consistent basis. Well, there you have it. My thoughts on the new Rowenta Steam Iron and how it performs on some common fabrics that you will be using. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. And if you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing and don't forget to hit the bell notification down below. Until next time, makers, let's get our sewspiration on.
I love you.